Hello, my name is Arthur from Tokyo, Japan. So I flew all the way out here to meet you, so nice to meet you.
All the way from Tokyo to meet me.
Yeah.
You could have written a letter. No, I'm very flattered and very pleased, and maybe I'll get a chance to see you when this is over. But that's
Okay.
very nice to you.
Great. So my question is, before Spider-Man, X-Men, the Fantastic Four, you actually strongly considered quitting writing comic books. But your wife convinced you to just stick with it and just write comic books the way you want to. Do you ever wonder how your life would be different if you had not listened to your wife? Or if your wife had not convinced you to stay with writing comic books?
Will you believe it? I think I heard most of that. I mean, I heard it. I could understand it too. You speak very clearly. Is he over there? I never know where I'm going. Yeah, my wife. I was getting sick of doing the books I was doing before we did the superheroes. I was doing romance stories and western and crime, everything you can imagine, little teenage books and animated things, but my publisher really was not a creative guy, and all he wanted to do was make money, and he didn't much care what we did. And every time I'd write a story, he'd say, Stan, don't use too much dialogue, and don't worry about characterization and all that. Just get a lot of action, a lot of fight scenes. That's what people want. So I was doing that, and I was really getting sick of it. And I said to my wife, I'd like to quit and try to get a job where maybe we're aiming a little higher. And she said, as I think I heard you say, she said, well, look, before you quit, why don't you do one book the way you want to do it to get it out of your system? The worst that can happen, he'll fire you and you want to quit anyway. So I thought that was a good idea. And it made up for her not working all those years. So I did the Fantastic Four, and it sold well, and because of that, we added all the other superheroes and everything was fine. Now, had that been a question or just a statement?
He was asking, how do you think things might have turned out had you not followed your wife's good advice?
You know, that's a good question. I would probably have tried not to be a writer, because I don't know where I would have gone, because comic books were held in such low esteem by the public in those days. I couldn't go to any publisher and say, I'd like to write for you. I used to do comics. I'd be kicked out of there. That was no reference. So I probably would not have tried to write. I mean, I could have written a novel, but that would take months, and we needed money right away. So I took other I was an office boy, I was an usher, I was all kind of things. But I thought I'd like to try to be an actor, because my idol was Errol Flynn, if any of you remember Errol Flynn. I wanted to be like Errol Flynn. In fact, I used to leave the theater after I'd see Robin Hood or one of his movies. And I'm about 12 years old, and I'd have a little grin on my face where I thought he grinned, and an imaginary sword at my side. And I'd be looking for a little girl who was being bothered by a bully so that I could go and defend her. That's how those movies affected me. So I don't think I would have been a writer at all. I'd have tried to be an actor. I wouldn't have gotten work, and I'd probably have starved to death. Because it's not easy to be an actor when you're 12 years old with no experience.
All right, we got time for one.